Today we have a situation where the 19th Amendment is being abolished and a 20th Amendment is being brought forward. From the time I was a schoolboy, when Prime Minister and later President J.R. Jayawardena came in, they brought in a new constitution to this country. From that early age, I heard members of the then opposition going around this country saying that this constitution is a dictatorial constitution and that this must be changed. Virtually every person running for president, whether it was Sirimavo Bandaranayake, whether it was Chandrika Kumaranatunga, whether it was Mahinda Rajapaksa, whether it was Maitripala Sirisena, virtually every person running for president in this country said that that dictatorial constitution must be abolished. That's what they said. I'm shocked today to see that some of these same people are trying to justify, right, the bringing of the 20th Amendment. And the 19th Amendment was basically brought to put checks and balances on the use of presidential power, making the president somewhat responsible to Parliament and Parliament's mechanisms. And they now want to abolish it and go in the opposite direction. It's inexplainable how people could come to Parliament, raise their hands, approving the 19th Amendment. Before that, the 17th Amendment, which originally brought the commissions, it was a unanimous in Parliament. The 19th Amendment had near unanimity. Only one member voted against it, right? And now some of the same people, I don't want to name them, about 28 of them, are now trying to justify the bringing of the 20th Amendment. Really, the question we need to ask ourselves as citizens is, are these people working to protect this country, or are they actually working to protect themselves? This is really a shame that they are actually doing this. Often the 19th Amendment is also put forward to say, for example, the Easter bombings happened because of it. There's absolutely no connection. Even with the 19th Amendment, the three forces reported to the President of the country. The intelligence services of this country reported to the President of this country. The 19th Amendment gave the President absolute power in terms of using the forces and defense. Our issue is not an issue of law. Our issue is an issue of people, personalities, leadership, and management. That is the issue that the country has faced in the past. Often we try to hide behind some inadequacy in the law rather than actually looking at our fundamental issue is a people's issue. That's where it failed. The 19th Amendment was brought after the bond scam had happened. The 19th Amendment provided for two important commissions. One was the Procurement Commission and the other was the National Audit Commission. These two were very important checks and balances on executive power. It's a known fact that corruption is endemic in this country. At every level there is corruption. And the 19th Amendment was brought and the Procurement Commission was brought as a check and balance on it. Because it's the executive, it's the president, it's his ministers who are often accused of stealing and robbing public assets in this country. And it is a check and balance to have an independent procurement commission. It's independent of the executive of the country. They're abolishing it in the 20th Amendment. They're going back to take absolute power over it. We sit in COPE, and I've sat in COPE for years, and we question government decisions, organizations, procurements, tenders. All these are questioned, from very large transactions like Sri Lankan Airlines to the bond scam to other transactions. And when we question it, who do we summon before the COPE? We summon the Auditor General, the Auditor General's department, the Auditor General's reports. These are what we summon. We work based on those. And the National Audit Commission was formed to make sure that the Auditor General and the Auditor General's department was independent. That is being abolished with the 20th Amendment. What are these people trying to do? They are trying to safeguard a culture of corruption. I don't have to talk about all the other changes, I was really dismayed to see that a leading English newspaper in this country today is saying, right, that even though the limit on the cabinet is being removed, that, right, the cabinet will not be expanded. I'm wondering how they know that, how they know the intentions of the president and the executive of the country to actually put a headline like that. If that's the case, why remove the limitation? In the 19th Amendment, we brought a limitation. It has to be 30 cabinet ministers. If there's a national government, Parliament has to pass a special resolution. State ministers and deputy ministers were limited to 40. Despite that, the opinion in the country was still that there were too many ministers and that should be reduced. We should never trust our presidents and our executives. We have had a 40-year history on this. My personal view is that the number of cabinet ministers should be reduced and it should be specified in the constitution. We have recently seen ridiculous things, like giving a subject to a minister and attaching a department which has absolutely no connection to the ministry. We can't trust our leaders because they have misused discretion. Therefore, we should put it in the constitution, limit the number, specify the ministries. I would go even further and say in an annexure, even say which institutions should be under it. We have to make our government answerable and we have to make it efficient for the sake of this country. This is what we should be actually doing. So the size of the cabinet. The other thing is, if it was not for the audit commission, we may have had another bond scam. The bond scam happened before the 19th Amendment. The 19th Amendment had an independent audit and they kept their eyes very closely on all the transactions. Now, I don't want to talk about dual citizenship. There are many other things that are being brought with the 20th Amendment. And I might say just one word about the immunity of the president. In the 19th Amendment, the president is immune from prosecution on civil and criminal matters. He is immune. What he is not immune is on fundamental rights. For example, if the president is a male and if the president decides to assassinate his wife, the president definitely is answerable. The 19th Amendment says on fundamental rights, anything which is fundamental, that somebody could institute a case against the president, but nothing to do with carrying out all his other duties. So why are they bringing the 20th Amendment? They are trying to make sure that an authoritarian legal framework is provided for an authoritarian system that has begun its journey. And therefore, as citizens of the country, while we must appreciate efficient government, clean government, we must appreciate firmness, but we must recognize the fact that all government must be within the rule of law.